I'm gay.
Hello. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride. May you feel pride. So this is usually a time where we have more conversations about LGBTQ issues in Singapore, and even though we have been bombarded with many different things this year, equality still remains to be a topic we have in our minds, which is great, except for the fact that it's 2020 and it's always been the same conversations over and over again. I mean, don't get me wrong, we should always be having conversations and engage in healthy debate on the things that we care about. But in our conversations about LGBTQ issues, we tend to find ourselves in an endless cycle of homophobia disguised in good faith arguments, with the LGBTQ community and allies reacting in anger, and rightfully so. But in the end, nobody learns anything, nobody's minds are changed, and nothing constructive happens. So what I thought I would do today is look at one example of said conversation against marriage equality / the repeal of 377A and respond with some arguments of my own, along with research and statistics as nicely as I can.
The most important tool is respect.
Gay.
And also because I lost my job due to COVID and I can't seem to find a new one, so I have nothing to do. For the record, just because I'm being nice or trying to be nice here doesn't mean that I necessarily respect all opinions. If your opinion disregards the humanity of other people, you deserve the same amount of respect that you give to said people. So let's get into it. So Kimberlyn, a friend, sent me this art piece of a Facebook post written by a man called Jason Wong. Based on his Facebook profile, he is the chairman of the board of Focus on the Family Singapore, which is an organization dedicated to, and this is on their website, help families thrive at different stages and phases of life. The thing about Focus on the Family though is that it is originally founded in the US, and they are known to be an organization that lobbies against LGBTQ rights. Now, I'm not saying that Focus on the Family Singapore is the same as the one in the US. They might just have the same name and logo, but it does give you an idea of their agenda. Now, Jason Wong is also a founder of the Yellow Ribbon Project, and we all know what that is, so I'm not going to explain what it is. So I'm sure that Jason Wong wants to help people, and he thinks that he's doing the right thing by writing this. So even though what I'm about to show you is quite disingenuous and filled with blatant homophobia, and I think he would disagree that he is being homophobic, for the sake of quote-unquote good faith conversation, let's read through what he said. So right off the bat, there is a huge quote here that says, the more controversial, whatever, and sensitive a topic is, the more we need to have conversations. Okay, yeah, this sounds good, I agree. And this post, as he explains, is a summarization of conversations he has had with young people, including his children, in the form of a dialogue with his son. So if this post sounds really scripted and fake, that's because it is. So it starts off with the son asking the dad if Pink Dot this year would be online, blah blah blah, stuff you can Google without asking people. And then he says he doesn't wish to talk about this topic, but his friends keep bringing it up. So what did these friends say? Son, that the LGBTs are born this way, those who disagree are bigots and homophobic. Okay, so this statement, what this is trying to do is to reduce the LGBTQ community and the activists and the allies into angry people that don't listen to reason, are not diplomatic, blah blah blah. See, this is a statement that homophobes like to use in an attempt to paint themselves as victims, that they are the reasonable ones, that everyone else is not civil, which is ironic because, this statement is at best passive-aggressive and not civil at all. But let's move on. The son goes on to say that just like we have accepted ex-offenders with the Yellow Ribbon Project, they feel that Pink Dot would generate acceptance for the LGBTs. Okay. Let's keep going. That I don't agree with discriminating anyone, whether they are migrant workers, disabled, with special needs, have a criminal or drug record, or identify as LGBT. Having said this, I think there is a big difference between what the Yellow Ribbon Project seeks to do and what Pink Dot seeks to do. We need to distinguish between, quote, the person and, quote, practice. We must never discriminate against the person, but it is fully okay to discriminate against certain behaviors and actions, especially if they are harmful to oneself or others. Yeah, I would agree that marriage, whether gay or straight, is harmful for everyone. And also, since we're talking about harmful practices and things, let's list a couple. In 2016, Aware stated that 377A discourages LGBTQ men from reporting sexual violence against them to the police. In 2011, LGBTQ people under the age of 40 are 3 times more likely to have considered suicide than their straight counterparts. Why? Discrimination. In 2012, 94.4% of Singaporean transgender females in an online survey stated that they have had experiences with abuse. Why? Discrimination. It's almost as if discrimination is harmful and we should discriminate against discrimination. Interesting. Okay, so obviously he is talking about gay sex. Son, I see. I read somewhere before that male homosexuals are grossly overrepresented amongst those infected with HIV each year.
Making him easy prey for...
Wow, and that was just his opening move.
That in certain countries where societies are very pro-LGBT and even redefine marriage to include same-sex marriage, the HIV infection and other STDs cases remain very high. We should be seeing a lower infection rate, but this is not backed up by hard data. As long as a person or a group of people continue to engage in high-risk behaviors, in this case high-risk sexual behaviors, then the consequences will be personal as well as public health problems. In those societies, the quote person is not discriminated, but it is the quote practices that give them HIV. So from here he goes on to compare Pink Dot to the Yellow Ribbon Project, saying that the Yellow Ribbon Project encourages ex-offenders to give up their past behaviors and actions and to live differently, while Pink Dot encourages their members, I didn't realize being gay counts as a membership, and make demands on society not just to accept, but celebrate all these practices and behaviors. That's this post, essentially. So, the Yellow Ribbon Project analogy is extremely problematic. I mean, obviously, ex-offenders deserve a second chance at life, and they should be able to receive acceptance from society. But the problem here is that ex-offenders did bad things. LGBTQ people, in general, did not. By using this comparison, you are reinforcing the narrative that LGBTQ people are people who do bad things and only want acceptance just so they can do bad things. LGBTQ love is not harmful, and equating all LGBTQ people with the word bad is homophobic and bigoted. So we know the key message of this post is that essentially LGBTQ people can be who they are, they just can't engage in LGBTQ quote practices or their quote lifestyle choices. And since ending discrimination won't stop HIV, why bother giving people rights at all, right? So before I go on to talk about this message, let's just discuss the notion that keeping gay sex illegal will prevent people from getting HIV. I'm not sure that you know this, but people have sex. Yeah, gay people, straight people, it's a thing people do. Making it illegal won't stop people from having sex. You're just making it harder for people to receive education and healthcare, both of which are things that greatly affect the number of HIV cases. Let's look at New Zealand, for example. They legalized same-sex marriage in 2013, and in 2018, it was estimated that 3,500 people were living with HIV in New Zealand. That's 0.07% of the population in 2018. In the same year, Singapore had 8,295 cases. That's 0.14% of the population in 2018. That's double the percentage of New Zealand. Okay, in all transparency, if you do your own research and look at the numbers, it may seem slightly confusing. This is because between 2018 and 2019, there was an increase in the number of new infections of HIV. This number is if you include the cases that were diagnosed outside of New Zealand. So if you were only to talk about the cases diagnosed in New Zealand, the 2018 number is 126 and the 2019 number is 128. Make with that what you will, I guess. I did not include the numbers for 2020 because there isn't one yet. We are still in 2020. Now, I'm not saying that legalizing gay marriage and repealing 377A will automatically bring the number of HIV cases down, because it won't, but it is a start. The reason I brought up New Zealand is because they credit this low percentage to education and healthcare. You see, they legalized same-sex marriage in 2013, but only saw a significant drop in HIV cases in 2017, the year they implemented measures such as allowing individuals to be able to receive treatment immediately upon diagnosis. Adding to the fact that they promoted safe sex through proper sex education and subsidizing condoms, the number of HIV cases in New Zealand has stopped increasing dramatically. So you see, Jason Wong is right about one thing. If people continue to engage in high-risk sexual behaviors, there will be a public health problem. But gay sex is not the high-risk sexual behavior we should be worrying about. It is unprotected sex. Gay sex is not the enemy. Unsafe sex is. Obviously, I know AIDS is a disease that disproportionately affects the LGBTQ community. And it's true that it is easier to contract HIV through unprotected anal sex. But heterosexual sex without protection can transmit HIV and other viruses as well. You are not protected just because you are straight. This is why condoms exist, not just for gay people. Using this to generalize and assume that preventing gay sex will solve the problem while ignoring all the progress the world has made in preventing the spread is damaging. In COVID-19, the elderly is a group where the fatality rate is much higher. Do we call it an old people disease and just call it a day? No, we educate ourselves, we take safety precautions, because health is a public issue, not a minority issue. You can't stop people from having sex, but you can educate people on safe sex practices, you can encourage people to go for more checkups, and you can destigmatize the notion of people getting treatments for STIs. If we want to truly tackle this issue, we need to understand that AIDS is not exclusively a gay person's disease. It is not a bad person's disease, and it is not God's way of punishing people for their sins. If you truly want to help people affected by AIDS, you need to stop classifying them into the people who do bad things category, and laws that keep people from being educated and give support to those who need them. I'm not the only one saying this. Action for AIDS did a research that shows that discrimination and exclusion causes higher risk of disease regardless of sexual orientation, because discriminatory laws lead to lower accessibility to education and healthcare. So this pretty much voids the argument that keeping gay sex and same-sex marriage illegal will keep the HIV numbers low. And also, let's just say, even after all of that, you still think that same-sex marriage and repealing 377A will not stop HIV infection rates from going up. Then what? Just because ending discrimination won't stop people from getting HIV, we should just not bother giving people rights at all? Boiling down the whole LGBTQ movement to just gay sex is extremely reductive. LGBTQ advocacy goes way beyond sex and has been since the beginning, yet this is the thing so many people seem to be obsessed with. Is sex all that you see when it comes to love? Or is it just convenient to reduce people into sex-crazed monsters so you can feel better about ignoring their humanity? So let's go back to the key message of Jason Wong's post. That LGBTQ people can be who they are, they just can't engage in LGBTQ quote practices or their quote lifestyle choices. For the record, I can't believe I still have to say this in 2020, but here we are. Being LGBTQ is not a lifestyle choice. A lifestyle choice is when a man goes to a gym 6 times a week and pretend that it counts as a personality. Okay, shut up, Kevin. Nobody cares that you lift. Nobody. So you can't tell people that they are accepted and then tell them they still can't do anything a straight person can. That's not acceptance. Oh, you can be yourself. I won't judge you, unless you want to be in love, get married, have sex, buy a house, feel like you belong in a country, be represented in the media, not be bullied, not be afraid of giving personal information during health checkups, but I accept you. Okay, I know the video is pretty long, so I will just end it by saying this. If LGBTQ rights goes against your religion or family values or beliefs, that's fine. But this is not a country that was founded based on your values. What we are asking for is the bare minimum of LGBTQ people to not be discriminated against. They want to be treated equally, not treated better than straight people. No one is going to put a sign on a restaurant that says you must be this gay to enter. So your rights as a straight person remains the same. Don't be angry when someone else is given a right that you already have. So if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. I should really write a script for this part. There are 2 parts to Jason Wong's post, and what I've covered is essentially part 1. Part 2 will be covered by my friend who showed me this entire post to begin with, Kimberlyn, who is awesome, has a much better voice than I do, and go watch her video. Why do they keep flying helicopters? Are we at war?